What's going on, YouTube? How we living today? We're going to talk today about self-compassion. Now, as we always do, for those of you, the roughly 250 of you who will watch this after the fact, or maybe you're watching this 100 years from now and it's up to 1 million views because that's how long it takes people to consume content that's helpful versus entertaining. But that's cool. We're not bitter at all. Joking, of course. But if you were just tuning in after the fact, you were going to want to skip ahead probably roughly, hard to predict the future, but about 2 minutes or so. Just scale it ahead so you can jump into the conversation, or in case you like listening to me warm up the crowd, you can do that as well. Welcome to the party. Remember, YouTube, as always, I'm going to get hopefully one of my teammates, or at the very least one of the VIPs here on our channel, will engage with this. Tyler Brown says, "What up, B? What's up, Tyler Brown?" Hopefully one of them will engage with this because I want to give you a link to where this show is really being broadcast, which is going to be on Twitch. So I'll start the shows here on YouTube. We'll get into a little bit of the discussion, but the primary focus is going to be over here with the folks on Twitch. So I cannot encourage all of you enough. Wow, the light balance on the iPhone really sucks compared to my other camera. But I can't encourage all of you enough to who are enjoying these shows on YouTube to make the transition, to make the jump over to Twitch. So, Tyler Brown, do me a favor. Let's see if this works. Let's see it, because I don't know if any of my VIPs or teammates are here, because this is an impromptu hangout. I just finished kind of my initial round of medical treatment for today. So, wanted to come do part of, another part of me getting healthy is having these types of interactions, talking about things that are on my heart in the public space. So Tyler Brown, do me a favor, type in twitch.tv/Bryant Chambers, BRYANT Chambers, and let's see if it lets you post the link. At worst, hopefully what it's going to do is flag the link so that I can release it, because I can't do it on my phone. Although, you know what I could do if I'm not lazy is just go to my channel and do it myself. Could have done that on my PC. Hello, I'm Mona, watching you from France. Hey, Mona. Very nice to interact with you today. Let's mute this, please. So yes, Tyler Brown, it did get flagged, but there you go. So encourage everybody, and let me try to post it too, and hopefully it actually shows up, because YouTube's not showing yours as a link. Let me see if it'll let me do it. Because YouTube used to penalize me for typing anything that has my name in it, because that's the name of my channel. Yes, it made it a link when I did it. YouTube used to penalize me for posting anything that had my name in it, because my name is the name of my channel, and it wouldn't allow people to click on. Like, they'd click on it and the link would be broken. It would take them to my website. It would take them to this broken page, and it was because they changed this because they realized that the freaking practice is shady as hell, and their whole motto is "Don't be evil," which, good on them. They caught it and then corrected it. But they used to penalize me and say, "No, we're not going to let you, we won't let you link off of YouTube to your stuff because you don't monetize your channel." And I'm like, what type of nonsense is that? Like, for real? Because I don't want to inundate my audience with your very poorly targeted ads. Nobody in my audience, well, not nobody, very few people in my audience are really all that fired up to go out and drive a BMW through, snowy mountains, right? So why would I force my audience to watch that nonsense when what they want to get to is the point? Like today's discussion, we're going to be talking about why self-compassion is more important than self-confidence. And I'm doing this because, I get a lot of people that watch me and they see this outward projection of myself and like, he's a confident person, which is accurate, right? I want to learn how to be confident like him, but it's because we associate confidence with some form of success, right? They see me, they hear me talking about running a business and growing a business and getting to the point where the business is about to be, we've done well, but now we're really about to do well, right? And then it's, oh, he's married and he's got the kids and the house and he's doing it, right? And yeah, I'm grateful that the grace of God has allowed me to not be dead, because trust me, could have been dead many times, and I'm not. I'm still here, and I'm very grateful for that. But everyone then associates, oh, the reason why he has all that is because he has this confidence. And what I want to dispel for everybody today is it's certainly, having confidence is important. I'm not saying you should lack confidence, But the challenge with that belief system is that the confidence then you think is the causation to why I have everything I have. And I can tell you right now, I'd have a hell of a lot more if I had learned self-compassion earlier. Let's see. Anish says, hi there, Bryant. Don't know if you remember me. I do. But I just saw you were live and thought I'd drop in and say hi. Can't stay for this talk, though. Got assignments to do here. Have a good one. Hey, Bryant, big fan of you. Wow, thank you. Can I get a hi? Sathia. Is it Sathia or Sathia? Sathia. I'm going to guess it's Sathia or Sathia. But you need to correct me if I'm wrong. So I'm going to go ahead and get the stream started on Twitch. If you guys are just tuning in, scroll up, click. And this, I want you guys to actually do this. And this is not for me. This is for your benefit. Certainly I will benefit from it, but that's not the purpose. All right? I want you to find the link I posted in the comment section. In fact, I'll make it easy. I'll just repost it again. I want you to find the link I posted in the comment section. I want you to click on that link. And then if you do not have an account on Twitch, I want you to make it. Let's do it right now. You can leave this stream and come back. Or actually, I'm getting ready to start streaming on Twitch anyway. You just stay there. I want you to create an account, and then I want you to follow me on Twitch. And the reason why, and then why I say it's for your benefit, is because I'm going to be moving away from doing these streams on YouTube. You know, I will not get into the story about why you can watch every other video I've shot this past week. You'll get the explanation for why I'm moving everything to Twitch. All right. So I want you to click that link. If you do, like, leave the stream right now, click that link, create an account. It'll take you 30 seconds tops. You don't even have to create a profile. Then follow me. Because what's going to happen when I do these on Twitch is very simple. When I start streaming, you will actually get an email, whether it's a stream like this, right, where I'm doing some type of talk or trying to help people with life or business strategy, or it'll be me hanging out playing video games with my friends. Here's the cool thing, and this happened last night. If I'm hanging out with my friends playing video games, like my doctor told me to do, right, there's strategy in everything I do. It's not random. And you come onto the show, it's totally okay to disrupt that show with a question that you have about life or business. And we had a guy come on last night, and he's like, I have a question, but you're having fun. I said, no. The purpose of these streams is to hang out and talk with people. The video game is just the background noise. So you can come on any stream, whether it's a topic or it's me just hanging out. You can disrupt it. And I don't want to use the word disrupt because you'll think that's negative. You can engage with us, ask your questions, and I will answer it right there. And in fact, the guy asked a really good question. He was having a hard time with something he was trying to deal with in his family, and I walked him through basically how to reframe it so he wouldn't beat himself up, you know, or think that it wasn't working. Something he's trying to do good for himself wasn't working when it absolutely was. So it doesn't matter what I'm doing on Twitch. You can come onto the show and have those discussions. Let's take a few comments, and then we're going to get right into the meat of this thing. Annie Ellis says, great topic, spending my lunch break on something that I need to hear. Sweet, Annie Ellis, make sure you get over to Twitch. Can't stress it enough. I don't want to, because when I stop doing this stuff on YouTube, guys, I don't want you to get left behind. All right. I want you to be able to stay connected with me. Linda Ennis says, hi, Silky ass. What up, Silky? Hey there, Brian. Hope you good. I'm good. Karina Cromarty, I followed you yesterday. Awesome. What's up, Karina? Karina is a member, actually, of our private coaching program, and she's awesome. Reading Dave says, hey, I was just reviewing those The Way of Walking Alone videos. There's some powerful stuff, man. I'm looking forward to the day when inevitably people actually start to discover the work that I've been doing for the last 3 years. And they're like, yo, where is this dude? Why is he not making these YouTube videos anymore? And it's like, oh, he's on Twitch. He's on Facebook, and he's running a podcast. Like, when people actually figure out what the secrets that I baked into those videos to help you actually succeed and to help you rewire your thinking for your own good. I'm telling you, man, I've always been, since I was a kid, I've always been 10 years ahead of where I'm supposed to be. Like, I remember I started wearing flannel shirts and getting made fun of for it. Then everybody started wearing flannel shirts 10 years. I'm like, y'all were laughing at me for these flannel shirts, and now everybody's wearing them. It's always been like, I've had to learn whatever I'm thinking right now today is 10 years before it's supposed to happen. So it's like I have to slow myself down. But people are going to get it. YouTube is becoming more, thanks to Jordan Peterson and Jocko Willink and Gary Vaynerchuk, stuff like this has become way more Stuff like this has become way more sought after. Tyler says, I guess I got forgotten from the private Facebook group. It's all good though. I don't say too much. You're not forgotten, man. Just get in there and chat it up. Which I'm actually going to give everybody an exercise in the private Facebook group. Today, I got something for you guys that I took from the military. All right, cool. Now let's see who actually followed instructions. Mona from Paris followed instructions. Thank you so much, Mona, for the follow on Twitch. Let's get the Twitch show on the road, and then we're going to get right into the discussion. All right. And then, boom, we're going to start streaming, and then we're going to check the live dashboard to make sure we're live on Twitch. Thank you, Twitch family, for tuning in. Got our YouTube family over here as well on my phone. Today, we are going to be talking about why self-compassion is more important than self-confidence. Now, having said that, I am not trying to give the impression that self-confidence is unimportant. It very much is. It's just, if you grew up in really any Western civilization, but I'd say especially if you grew up in America, I know many of you follow me from all over the world. We got Anish, we got people from India, we have Mona from France, right? We've got people from all over the world, so I know it's a little bit different in different places, right? Cultures, but I've also lived in a lot of other places. You know, I didn't technically live in the Middle East, but I was there long enough to consider it, or I had an address while I was there getting shot at, right? I've lived in Europe. I've lived in the States, obviously. Never lived in Canada. Never lived in South America. But I have lived in Eastern culture, and I have lived in Western civilization, in different pieces of Western civilization, and been to a lot of other places, right? Been to Switzerland, been to lived in Germany, right? So I understand that perspectives are different in different cultures, but at the core of who we are, especially in a Western civilization, we've been taught and conditioned to value confidence over compassion. And you see this play out. I see it play out in the work that I do, because the person that you see on camera, right? The family man, the guy who's very transparent about the mental and physical health issues that I've had over the last couple of years, right? The business owner, the person who's fighting to to help others make their own lives better. I don't really have a part in you making your life better, other than being, kind of an encourager in your corner and an accountability partner, right? And kind of a teacher in some ways, showing you guys things that people, really smart, amazing people, some living, some past, have taught me, and I'm just paying forward what these great men and women have done for me. So, but the challenge there is, so many people see this person on camera and they see the confidence, right? They see that there is no fear in my delivery. There is no apology in my delivery. Certainly a transparency and a willingness to admit that I might not be right about something. But there is no pretense in what I'm saying. I come across, because I am a very confident person. But a lesson that I had to learn later in life was that confidence will get you to a certain place. But if you truly want to be happy in that place where you land, you're going to have to learn self-compassion. And we spin our wheels our whole lives. I mean, I last year I created an online course called Unbreakable Confidence, because people, my viewers, my existing customers who go through some of my other coaching programs, you heard me mention the private Facebook group in my private coaching program a minute ago. People who went through those programs are like, hey, could you also please teach a course on confidence, because I feel like I lack confidence. And I responded to that and said, sure, I can teach a course on confidence. But the more I started learning and discovering and learning more about myself, and beginning a way more intense mental health and physical health journey, I started to realize, oh yeah, when I started to learn about self-compassion from some of my mentors and counselors and therapists, even my physical therapist, right? Like, there's physical self-compassion that I had to give myself. Like, I popped an Achilles tendon back in 2017 because I was working out too hard and I didn't listen to my body. My body was telling me, hey man, workout's over. We're not 17 anymore. You won. Like, you got the abs. You can bench press a truck. Get in the car. It was like, no, one. I was like, one more. Like, I was basically got into this I'm going to do one more rep because my body's not going to tell me when this workout's over. I tell me when the workout's over. And then I did the last sprint, the last rep, which was completely unnecessary. I was doing the last sprint, and then I decided during the sprint, I'm not running fast enough, and I know I can run faster, so I kicked it into sixth gear. Immediately, my Achilles tendon popped. Thank God, by the grace of God, it wasn't so bad an injury that like I had to drive home from where I was working out at. I was working out at this, athletic fields, football field and a track, and they had a course, like a 2 mile course around, it was like this complex, right? Thank God I didn't hurt myself so bad that I had to be ambulanced. Like I was actually capable because I popped my right foot, my driving foot, popped it right out of there, and was able to limp to my car and drive home, but then was laid up and couldn't do anything about that. And it wasn't cool because I didn't show myself. My body was trying to tell me, hey, yo, chill out. Don't keep doing this. Alyssa says, I notice with myself that self-compassion helps build confidence by helping you become more comfortable with who you are. See, Alyssa is cheating, right? She's getting us to the end of the class before we get there, which is totally cool because that's why I like Alyssa being around, because it's like my sister from another mother. Lolly Lou says, Alyssa, yes, it helps with being more honest with yourself. Just posted a link for those of you tuning in on YouTube. Come join us on Twitch. Do not delay. Young Egg says, what's good, B? You're good, man. We're all good. We woke up alive today. That's a gift, right? Because I could have not woke up. And I guess that's kind of a gift too, because then it's, well, what's next? Right? But yeah, I'm good, man. I hope you're doing well as well. So I had to learn through a lot of years of pushing myself to be better as a person, better as an athlete, better as a soldier, better as a professional, that at some point the pushing becomes unhealthy because I'm not showing myself compassion, or I'm going too over and above trying to help people, but at the same time I'm neglecting myself. So I'm trying to help people and love people and strengthen people, but I'm coming apart at the seams, right? Which landed me in the hospital last year, which not fun. When you just go into the hospital like, hey, my heart rate kind of went a little crazy. It just came. I'm just here to make sure it's okay. And then, because I was at another place that had an infirmary, and then the infirmary called the ambulance, and then 6 dudes wheeled me out of that place in an ambulance and rushed me to the hospital. I'm like, and I remember asking the dude in the ambulance, like, hey man, because nobody's really telling me what's going on and why. Like, I feel fine. My heart rate is just up. Like, so now I'm sitting in the ambulance terrified and I immediately went to thinking of my sons, and I said, dude, am I going to see my kids tonight? And then he laughed, which immediately made me feel good, because I think he didn't realize I had not, like, the doctors that I was working with weren't very good at communicating what was wrong with me. They just, get the ambulance. Like, what do you mean get the ambulance? Like, I can walk on my own. If I need to go to the hospital, I can drive myself. They're like, no, get the ambulance. Didn't tell me what was going on. And then I told the doctor, because I didn't have my phone. It wasn't near my phone was in my car. I was like, hey, I can't call my wife because you guys are forcing me to go to the hospital. I said, listen, can you please call my wife? Here's her number. And here is what you say. My husband's okay. Your husband's okay, but we're taking him to the hospital as a precaution. This woman calls my wife, says, yo, your husband's being rushed to the hospital. You need to get there. Hurry up. That's all my wife hears. Anyway, that is the result of over a decade of not properly caring for myself, while I look like I have it all together and I'm on camera and I'm confident and trying to help other people, right? How does that make sense? How does one do that? Well, it's a person who's learned over the years that giving is better than receiving, and a lot of other good intention teaching, but is not practical. When you have a person like me who has obsessive tendencies, can think, I always take things to an extreme, right? I do. That's why I never, like, when I was young, I never got into doing drugs. Cause I'm like, ain't no way I'm doing that, like, casually, because I'm hardcore, dog. Like, if if you give it to me and I can turn it into something awesome, right? Because I always talk about, our capacity for being amazing is countered by our exact capacity for being horrible. And I knew at a young age that the way I play football, the way I do, I am an intense, ambitious, driven person who is self-competitive. Like I don't like competing with other people, but I am very much internally competitive and get frustrated when I'm not living up to my expectation of myself, right? And so that's why when I was young, and you know why I never really got into drugs was because when I was young, I saw a dude. I was working at Burlington Coat Factory, and I saw a guy come in, and he was just weird. And he was like he really skittish and looking around crazy, and wasn't really communicative. And but he was talking to one of my coworkers, and so I was like, oh, they know each other. They must be friends. So I went back to what I was doing, and so we're in the back because I worked in what's called receiving, which is a really nice way to say the guy that pulls crap off the trucks, right? In our society, we have to create euphemisms for everything so we can feel better about ourselves, right? And so I'm in the receiving area, and I went to my boy Sam. I said, hey, yo, hey, I don't want to be offensive. Because, back at this time, you could say words like this and people didn't get triggered or offended or go on Twitter and say that you should, lose your family and be sent to a deserted island because you're a horrible person. I went to Sam. I was like, hey, man, like, no disrespect. I don't know how to say this. He's like, what's wrong? I said, well, your retarded friend, the one that was, I was curious, who is he? He's like, what are you talking about? I said, brother, the retarded dude. Like, I'm not trying to be, like, I have an older sibling who is, like, very, very retarded and, has to live in a home. Like, I'm trying to be sensitive here. He's like, it's like your friend, the retarded guy that came in earlier. He's like, he starts laughing. I'm like, dude, don't laugh at the retarded dude. That's not cool. And he says, no, dude. He said, that guy's not retarded. He's high. And that was my first experience with dealing with someone who was on drugs, right? I was like, he's what? He says, dude, he's high. He was on acid. I was like, that's what high is? It makes you retarded? No, ain't no way I'm getting high, ever. So I always had this internal fear of if I ever did a drug, I was going to be retarded. Like it just, but I also knew as I got older that I'm a very intense person. And like I just told you the story about working out. I worked out to the point of injury, and that's not self-compassion, right? And so that's the kind of the beginning of the gist of what I'm talking about is, and I think self-compassion also starts with self-awareness. And I just had this conversation with my wife about she was beating herself up about, as a mother, how she was doing certain things to try to teach our sons, and she was looking at the results, and they weren't kind of living up to her expectation of them being compassionate young boys. And I said, yeah, but dude, they're not even teenagers yet. Like they're babies. They have no concept of any of what you're talking about. All they're thinking about is when's my next meal coming? When do I get to play Xbox? And so she was not showing herself any compassion. She was like, she wasn't saying it, but feeling like she wasn't doing enough to raise compassionate young men. And I'm like, dude, basically until children like our oldest is getting there because he's getting a little bit older, but I said the children are terrorists at least until I said, and I was one until I was about hell I was a prick until I had my own kids. So it's like I said, the type of compassion that you're talking about is a very sentimental outward showing of love and compassion that you want them to have. And I said each of them is different. You can't really judge the babies because they're babies, but the other two boys, the oldest one in particular, is a lot more like me. The way he shows compassion and love for people is not very sentimental. It's very existential. Like it's, do you have what you need? I'm here for you. I'll always have your back. You'll never have to fear of going without. If anybody ever tried to do anything to this family, I will shoot them in the mouth. Right? I will unload a clip on somebody that tries to hurt any of you, like that protective nature. I said, so, the way I show compassion is very much not sentimental. It's existential and survivalish. Like I'm going to make sure you never go without, and make sure you have everything you need. I'm also going to show you compassion by helping you get strong. And some of that is by helping you go through struggle and not removing all of your struggles away from you so that you can become the man that God created you to be. Right? So my way of showing love is not quite as, even though I consider that nurturing because that's what's effective on me. I understand that there's a more feminine energy side of that my wife is trying to get from him. And I said, but give him time. Like, and first of all, this isn't even about the kids. You're upset at you because you feel like you're not doing enough. I said, so I was trying to teach her, like, well, not teach her because she knows and I'm not her teacher, but trying to encourage her that, yo, this is a self-compassion moment. This is a mommy's doing a great job. This is none of our kids have jumped off a bridge. You won. Next question, right? Radnor and Woofy Muffy with the follows. Thank you so much for being here on Twitch. I really appreciate you all oh so much. So the issue, so let's talk about why specifically the title is compassion is greater than confidence. Because again, I'm not saying self-confidence isn't important. It's very important. But let's talk a little bit about how self-confidence is generated, and that'll help us get into why self-compassion. And I'm not going to talk very long today. I'm going to shut up here in a second and let you guys ask questions, because this is a pro tip for those of you that get into the, either the coaching or the mentoring, or like me, I am, raising and training freelancers and entrepreneurs. And I was saying this in therapy last night with my doctor, because she was trying to understand, because now I have a new doctor. She's trying to understand what it is I do. And I was like, well, I said, listen, I'm a life and business strategist, but usually I reach business people, but the business strategy is a gateway drug to, I can help your business, but then eventually you funnel into, yeah, but all the problems with your businesses are really you. So let's help you get amazing. And then amazingly, your business becomes amazing. But this issue with confidence, a lot of people don't realize is when they asked me to make the course on confidence, I don't think they expected to get what I created, which was, well, confidence it's a factor of time, right? And I'm mathematically probably saying that wrong, but confidence does not just show up. I think what people might have been expecting was, what button could I push? What thought could I think that then makes me just be confident? Like if someone's doing something to me that's kind of not cool or maybe slightly unjust, and I'm unlikely to stand up for myself, and I perceive that as a form or a lack of self-confidence, which isn't incorrect, but also self-compassion is at the root of it, which we're going to get into in a second. When you're talking about confidence, what I had to show them was confidence is something that takes time to build. Like I had somebody trying to teach me, they were heavily using, what were they saying? They were an INFP Myers-Briggs type, and they were talking to me in a private message about, I need this and I need you to show me all these things that you figured out. And I'm like, well, it took me 20 years to learn all that. What are you expecting me to do in a private message? And they were getting not belligerent, but impatient with me. And I was trying to tell them, at the end of the discussion, after they laid out everything that they were struggling with, I was like, you need to do what I'm doing, which is go talk to a therapist. Right? And it was like, no, I need you. I said, you don't need me. I can't help you with whatever your challenge is because I can't get to know you in a private message. Right? So it's like people want me to just give them, here's the pill I took and then I was confident. Right? Or here's the 3 steps, these BS, motivation videos. Here's the 3 steps I took to get a Lamborghini and be confident. Like homeboy or homegirl didn't take 3 steps. Right? It's homeboy or homegirl took 20 years, which is what I was trying to tell the person. It took me 20 years to become what you see. And and by the way, I'm still growing every single day. So I'm still in the mix. Like I've been working since I was 12, right? It was when I had my first real job. It wasn't even legal. I got paid under the table, right? And it was actually going to a job every day, right? And so this idea that I'm just going to give you confidence, I get where it comes from because you want it, and because you have this almost human fear-driven need to be confident because you see it as the solution to your problem. And what I'm here to tell you is that the self-compassion is actually at the root of it, and the self-compassion is what everyone really lacks, right? And so the challenge with confidence is that it takes time to build. And what I always tell people is that if you want to be confident, you need to become competent. So if one of you was a business owner, I'll give you a specific example, and you reached out to, let's say, one of my mentors to ask about how can I better run Facebook ads? The people that taught me how to do it, and then my own, I learned on my own, the people that taught me how to do it, if you ask them that question, there's not going to be any fear, any anxiety, and no lack of confidence. Why? Because they've actually been doing the work for the last since Facebook, in some of these cases, since Facebook ads existed. And in fact, they go further back to the beginning of when Google ads existed. So they're going to be confident when they address you because they have the experience to prove that I am an authority in this, I can speak on it, right? And so that's me now. It's when someone asks me, in fact, I just had someone on YouTube hit me up with, can you please help me with my business? They watched one of my videos. They're like, this is exactly what I need. Can you help me? Yes, possibly. And for a fee, I might be able to help you, depending on what your business needs are, right? But there's no lack of confidence because I've been in what you would consider online marketing, at least learning the trade, if not practicing it, since 1993. You're like, how could that be? The internet wasn't even a thing then. You're right. We have message forums. And by the way, what we do on the internet now, all the comments I see you guys leave, none of it's new. Nobody ever surprises me with a comment. It's the same people. It's 80% of the people say nothing. They just read and they, enjoy the parts that are positive or whatever. And then 20% of the people are the ones who are I'm sorry, it's 90-10. My websites always did about 10% better because I was heavily involved in drawing and driving it. But 90-10, then the 10% of the people are the active ones, and at least 1% of them are angry and leave crappy comments because they have mental health issues or whatever, right? So it's not new. So when you ask me to sit down with you and help you understand how can your business improve based upon, online marketing, I can be confident in having that discussion because I've put in the years of work and I've been successful with it. So the confidence comes from competence. It comes from experience, right? Michael Jordan was very confident on the court because he worked every day harder than anybody else ever until Kobe Bryant came along. Alyssa says, a majority of confidence is the byproduct of self-love, compassion, and empathy. As usual, we admire the finished product more than the art of the work done. Absolutely. I like to ask myself, if someone came to me with the same thing I'm struggling with, what empathy would I give them that I should be giving me? Exactly right. And I heard somebody say once upon a time, look at how you treat yourself throughout the day. Like you promised yourself you're going to start working out tomorrow, you're going to start eating right, and then you break all these promises to yourself. Like, would you want to hang out with you? Like if I could watch the way you treat you, knowing the promises you made, well, you're just going to break all those promises to me. Which, interestingly enough, most people don't. They keep their promises to other people because they think they've been taught this false humility, and unfortunately, a lot of it comes from bad Bible teaching. Church for freaking millennia has been having really bad teaching. Like, I can trace the bad teaching in a church environment all the way back to the book of Exodus, right? The 10 Commandments came out of bad church situation, right? God was not like, let me give these guys 10 things to do. It was man that created that scenario, and God acquiesced in the story, the myth, the reality, whatever you believe. But it's people have been taught very poorly. Like, I had to teach a guy about forgiveness, and I teach a lot, not just a guy. I've taught a lot of people. Like, people don't understand what forgiveness is. They think it's, I need to forgive this person, completely forget about what they did to me, start liking them and hanging out with them. Like, dude, if you shot my dog, like, I'm gonna forgive you after the ass whooping. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not just gonna forget that my dog got sent away because you're a psychopath, right? Forgiving is about self-care, not about what happens to the other person. Forgiveness has nothing to do with the other person. It has everything to do with you letting go of the suffering, to forgive, to give ahead of time, to give yourself the care necessary to remove the suffering that was caused by another person. That's why the idea of forgive and forget started. But it's not forget, it's do not focus on the pain that was caused by this other person. Get your mind focused over here on the things that actually bring you joy and remove the suffering, is where a lot of these things get taken out of context. But you've been taught, going back to the bad teaching for thousands of years, that, well, you got to care about other people more than yourself. Wrong. If you're basing it on scripture, it actually says love your neighbor as yourself, which implies that you first have to love yourself. And we totally missed that part because we were raised by insecure parents that probably grew up either in an insecure school, an insecure church, doesn't just have to be church, anything, right? And we put these beatings on ourselves and these laws, this legalism on ourselves, because we hope that makes us acceptable and presentable to other people. And it's a complete lack of self-compassion. And so people go out of the way and beat themselves up trying to help everybody else and don't do the self-care, right? And it's because we learned a long time ago this false humility, which isn't real, right? It's wrong. And so you go through your whole life like I did. I was, I won't say I was a victim, but I was one of the people affected by that type of bad thinking and teaching. And it took me a lot of years and a lot of mentors. And, I have a personal life coach that I talk to every single day. Almost, yeah, every day. At the very least, we have a text message every single day. And it's, okay, I'm dealing with this thing over here. How should I attack it? And he always has the answers. But, he's also, he's like a really, really older big brother to me he's been through a lot of stuff and he's had a lot of success. He's able to help me with things. Yeah. Let's see. Older Anders says, you build confidence, not invoke it. Exactly. I think what happens is the world sees people like me, like, oh, he's really confident. He can teach me, because they think it's a mask that I put on. That, okay, let's put on the confidence mask. All right. Here's what you do to project confidence. I speak with a deeper voice, and I'm very direct in what I say, and I sound like Worf from Star Trek for some reason. But they think it's an act of confidence, when no, it's the act of getting really good at something. And when you are really good at something, it doesn't even have to be career related, anything, right? I am really good. I actually had a guy tell me this, because I always used to wonder if it was true, especially in the sales world. This guy was sitting with me. This is actually a group therapy session. We're good friends now. He said to me, he's like, you are really good at reading people. He's like, you can feel people's emotions, and then you can respond with the thing that they need to hear. He's like, I've never seen, and I was like, dang, I always wondered if I was like at least okay at that. And I've got this other man telling me like, yo, dude, you really are able to read what's going on behind people's eyes. And it took him saying it to me for me to believe it. Like, oh, all right, sweet. Right? But you have to learn how to see yourself in those lights. The confidence comes because you get so good at something that it just can't be denied, right? Like if you started lifting weights and I was training you and I could get you to a point where, let's say you could bench press 225 pounds 30 times and you do that once a week, you're going to get to a point where if someone sits you down at a bench 10 years later, like, yo, can you bench 225? Hell yeah. Because I've done this. I've done it so many times in the past. I know I can at least do it once, right? And so the confidence comes with experience, and experience takes time, right? And it takes a lot of failure and the feelings of rejection and some of the harder to deal with emotions that come along in the process of building competence, because building competence comes with a lot of getting it not so right. Now, that's confidence, but coming back to compassion you can start today, because compassion for yourself can be tied to actions that you take, not just because, remember, mood is driven by action. Mood is always driven by action. Mood is always driven by action. So if you don't feel very good about yourself, there are things you can immediately go do, which will change literally. And what I recommend, and this is what I do with my kids on weekends, the little bit of time I give my kids to play video games, right? What's supposed to bring joy and happiness to the whole house oftentimes creates a lot of bitching and arguing. And it's like, okay, I can hear my kids down there hollering about whose turn it is to play Apex Legends, and I listen. And then if it gets out of hand, I go downstairs, I say, okay, shut off the Xbox. Here's what happens next. Everybody but the baby outside, 20 hill sprints. Now, that may seem a little bit harsh, that may seem a little bit cruel, but you have to understand, everything I do is strategic. There's very little, if any, randomness to the things that I do. I understand that a physiological change leads to an emotional change. That is just the way our body is built. If I can change what they're doing physiologically, I can change the mood. And I know that by doing 20 hill sprints, at their pace. I don't go out there and scream at it. Actually, I do it on the honor system. They go out there and they tell me they ran 20. I believe they ran 20. And because I have boys that have a lot of integrity, so I know. And it's plus I have one dude that's like for real, for real. Like if one person doesn't run 20, he's gonna run it. Yo, dad, homeboy only ran 8. Right, so I don't have to be the hawk. But the idea there is what I know about exercise, because I use exercise as a means of, increasing and improving my mental health. What I know happens immediately, like when they're running, it hurts a little bit, right? It's making them better in better physical shape. It's helping their heart, but it's also helping their mind. I know as soon as they finish that workout, their body is going to release endorphins, which means they're going to calm down. They're not going to be in fight or flight mode arguing over the Xbox, because the Xbox has become, in their brain, the glutamate in their brain has associated the Xbox with survival. Like playing the Xbox gives me so much dopamine that now I associate, and I teach my kids this stuff, I associate it with like almost with food. Like not getting to the Xbox puts me in a fight or flight state that's uncomfortable, and I get angry and cagey because I feel like something that's creating a level of survival in me. Because anytime something releases a million gallons of dopamine into your brain, the glutamate's going to figure out, hey, this is something we need to pay attention to. This Xbox thing is something we should value and keep doing. So when there's threat that they could have it taken away, so I change their physiological state immediately. And when the endorphins release, they go back to, I'm feeling pretty good. I don't really need to yell at my brother because he took an extra 3 minutes to finish a run of Fortnite, right? So understanding how that works, then you can start to build in like what sounds like punishment. And I tell my boys, I don't believe in punishment, right? And our family philosophy is this: punishment was handled with Christ on the cross, right? Christ on the cross was punishment. I don't punish. Bible says a father disciplines those he loves. Didn't say he punishes them and beats them down. He disciplines. So what I'm creating is the mental and emotional discipline. What's up, homie? I'm talking about you. What's up? You got your robot?
I got a robot.
You got the robot. I see it, man. It's awesome. You want to show the robot to everyone on the internet? You want to show it to them? Come on the camera and show everybody your robot you made. Let's see, Yogi, you're on YouTube here. Let's slide you. Let me slide so you can be there. Show everybody the robot you made. Come on over here. Come on over. There you are. There it is. Look up here. Look up here. Up here, buddy. Up here. No, up here where my fingers. There you go. There they are. So there's my robot. Right? Captain Cheese says, awesome robot. He says you did a good job. Right?
All right.
All right, big hug. You know the game. We don't ever embrace each other's presence without a big hug, and I give you a kiss because I love you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.
What is that?
You know what that is. I'm not playing the what is that game. I'm on a call.
I got that.
Yeah, I'm on a call.
Bye bye.
Bye bye. Love you.
I got that.
I know. Yeah. You can close the door. Yes. Thank you for asking. You're learning. Getting so smart, man. All right, so anyway, where did I leave off? Always a welcome interruption, by the way. It's part of the reason why I run what I do out of my house, because I want my kids to see what dad does and be a part of it. That understand that my work life and my family life are not these two separate things, right? When you're doing what you're created to do, they don't need to be separate. All right, so where did I leave off? Somebody give me a cue to what the hell I was talking about, because kids give you amnesia. I know I was talking about the connection between compassion and self-compassion, making my kids run sprints. Got it. And so it's actually me not just disciplining them, but having a lot of care and having an understanding of physiology, biology, psychology, the way the brain works. Because I know those things, I can give my kids discipline, which is going to equal happiness and freedom to them as they get older. Because once those endorphins release, it immediately changes the mood. Right. In fact, it's not always hill sprint. Sometimes I send them outside. I was like, go outside and have a Nerf war. And then I have them take mental note, kind of like running a science experiment. They came back in one day after a Nerf war. Instead of running sprints, I said, just go have a Nerf war. Just go outside for an hour, have a Nerf war. And so they, they had their Nerf guns and blah, blah, blah. And they come back and they're laughing and high-fiving. Man, that was an awesome shot. I'm like, do you notice? I said, stop and notice how happy all of you are right now. Nobody's bitching and hollering. Nobody's screaming at each other because they took too long on their Xbox turn. Everybody's happy. Does anybody understand why that's the case? Like, no, Dad, we're just happy. I said, no. You had a physiological change, which led to a mental, biochemical shift in the brain, and now you released endorphins. Now you're happier, right? So self-care doesn't always have to be, but what my point is, action drives. You can change your mood by action, and self-care is an action thing. Compassion is taking action. What are some of the things, I shared this with Tony on a call. I don't remember if it was this week, and I don't have it pulled up here, and I can't pull up my phone, so I'm gonna have to pull up the internet. Bear with me for 1 second. So I actually have a sheet that I use. No, wrong list. All right, so I have what's called the daily discipline, and on that sheet, this is my self-care actions I have to take for the day. So I check off everything that I actually complete. So today, I completed. I had a talk with my life coach, my mentor, and he's a great friend of mine too. It's not just like like a life coach that I'm paying $1,000 a day to talk to me. This is someone who's in our family. We're not blood related, but he's like he was at my baby's christening and all that stuff. So I read scripture today. I talked to my mentor, and I had my first hour of mental health stuff, right? Meeting with the counselors. So I haven't meditated yet. I did do this one. I say eat within 1 hour of waking, but some days I fast. But as long as I actually eat and make it a priority to feed myself, and in my case, I'm feeding myself fats and proteins because I deal, I don't have to give you the whole rap sheet of all my issues, but like depression and anxiety are a thing for me. So eating fats and proteins early instead of consuming a bunch of sugar is healthier for me, right? I didn't meditate yet. I've spent time with my kids, but not a complete hour. Like I was downstairs, they built a fort, and I got to be King Kong and destroy the fort, and then they got to rebuild it. But I haven't gotten up to an hour yet, so I'll check that off probably sometime around dinner. I'm supposed to read for an hour. Haven't done that yet. Have not done my prayer walk, and I didn't sleep for 8 hours. So this is me keeping myself accountable to the things I need to do in order to stay in a state of self-compassion, which keeps me healthy. And these are things that I do. I'm requiring myself to do them every day. Do I get it perfect? Of course not. But as I've said many times on these talks, I do not demand perfection from anybody. But what I do encourage is that you make a little bit of progress every day. And going back to confidence, one of the other problems with confidence is the way a lot of people are trying to go about building confidence. And YouTube, if you're leaving comments, I apologize. I'm on my phone, so it only shows me like 2 comments at a time. So I'm inevitably going to miss some of the stuff you guys are saying because I've got Twitch pulled up here on my computer screen, which is another great segue to say, yo, come holler at us on Twitch. We've had 3 people so far join us on Twitch. And so, let's see. The other problem with confidence is a lot of people tend to believe that the way they go about getting their confidence is that they compare themselves to other people. Right? It's like if you just started working, and this is why it's insane to do that. If you just started working out today, let's say you're 270 pounds, you're 56 years old, 270 pounds, you want to lose weight, right? So the way you got to train is a little bit different than me, who's not 57 years old, and probably quite a bit different than me at 17, right? A lot of things, I wasn't popping Achilles tendons at 17, right? But the idea here is, okay, you're going to develop, you're going to have a picture of Arnold Schwarzenegger on your computer, and then you're going to compare yourself to that every single day, right? It's like that's going to destroy your confidence trying to compare yourself to how much, and I watch a lot of insecure people do this, especially I've seen it a lot in the professional world, where people establish their abilities and their merits by tearing down someone else. Gary Vaynerchuk talks about this a lot. I think he says, if I want to build the tallest building in New York, I'm not going to tear down yours. I'm just going to build the tallest building. And he gets that right. You can't imagine, like, to me, that's just right thinking. Like when he said that, I'm like, did he have to say that? Are there people? And then I started thinking about all the people I've worked with over the years who are like that. I'm like, damn, he did have to say that. Like there's a lot of people who their whole way they make themselves feel good about their life is by crapping on somebody else's. Captain Cheezerius is now on Twitch. What's up, brother? Thanks for the follow, right? So it just becomes this nightmare of comparing to other people, and it's just, to me, it's a form of cowardice, but I show empathy to it because I don't think it's like they're intentionally being a coward. They're afraid and they think they're not valuable, so the only way they feel like they can communicate value is to tear somebody. I've done business deals where, you know, the person selling me services is crapping all over my competitors, including someone I've already hired. Like, dude, that's not, you can't possibly think I'm gonna hire you because you're an idiot. Like, you can't show me you, because if you, and this is the point, if you were actually a good business, you wouldn't need to talk about the competitors. First of all, I'd already know who you are because you're good. Two, you'd be so amazing that you wouldn't have to try to buy me tickets to the Redskins game and all this other crap that you, and I finally had to tell the guy because he was freaking persistent. Like, yo, I want to take you to the Redskins game. I said, listen, dude, I'm a family man who doesn't have a lot of time. Right? And this is when I was running somebody else's business. I was just starting my business. I was running someone else's company. So I had to do these negotiations and business deals and stuff. And I was like, look, man, I'm not going with you to a Redskins game. Like, stop asking. For real. Because like, I'm not that guy. Right? That's not how I do business. Right? But his whole spiel was, I'm going to tear down this other company. And me and Jeffrey Gittimer, you know, he had the discussion, and I said something and he liked it. It was like, yeah, you're basically, that video I did a couple days ago where I said, are you a bitch, man? You're a bitch if your whole thing in business is crapping on other businesses that you're better than. You're a bitch. I'll never do business with somebody like that, ever. Because you don't have enough skill to distinguish yourself without crapping on someone else. It's 100% not acceptable. Like, the other business isn't. I said, first of all, I hire these people. I know what they're capable of. You're not going to come in my business where I know what's happening every day and tell me, oh, they're really shitty. Like, word, you know something that I don't know. I'm with these cats in the trenches every day. Okay, so what's better about you don't have anything better. Your whole shtick is just crapping on everybody else. That's bitch behavior. And I just, when man bitches come into my life, I go into survival mode. Like, I got to get away from these cats because I'm going to start slapping people. Because that type of attitude and mentality, it just, you know, one of my character flaws is I don't have a lot of patience a lot of times for stupidity. And I should be more empathetic to people who just don't know better, right? And I'm working on it. I'm trying to get better, right? So I don't have it all together. But the point there is, a lot of people think that confidence is comparing yourself to other people. Confidence is comparing yourself to other people, right? Like, so for example, well, no, we won't get into that. Comparing yourself to other people is going to do more to damage your confidence, or at worst, it's not. Comparing yourself to other people is going to be damaging to your confidence, or even worse, you run into this rut of you're comparing yourself to other people who are not really progressing, so you have no incentive to grow, right? I watched Sony do this for years, where they were the top. They basically came in. The reason why Sony, if you don't know the history of the company, the reason why they became so prolific, you know, decades before PlayStation and all this other stuff, they came in and answered a consumer need that the American market either was ignoring or didn't know. I can't remember all the details of the history, but they came in and addressed it. And then they established themselves as, these Sony people really have it together. But then fast forward 2 decades from there, they're putting out inferior products and they're charging too much money for them. I know, because I bought some of them that broke. I literally had a car stereo, and I used to be a live musician. So back when I used to listen to the live bands that I was learning from, you could only get their recordings on a cassette tape, because it was back in that time. I mean, CDs obviously existed, because we're talking about, this is like the early 2000s, right? But getting a CD player tied to a PA board and doing a recording where it doesn't mess up during a live show was hard, so they still did them on cassette. So I had a cassette player and I was listening to these bands, and so I'm rewinding the tape for those of you that are old enough to remember what that is, and then and as it was rewind, when it finished rewinding, the rewind button shot across the car. Right, and I had that happen with 2 stereos that I bought from Sony. Then they created a laptop line of these middle of the road laptops that they were charging Apple prices for or more. Right, so they're putting out inferior products and charging too much for them. Well, that's fine. When you're Sony, you can actually get away with treating your customers that way for a number of years because it takes all of them. Because first you have brand loyalty, and when you have brand loyalty, now someone's attributed their identity, whether knowingly or subconsciously, to you. So they don't want to go against. It's the commitment consistency bias of the 25 cognitive biases. If I've been buying Sony for the last 30, if I've been buying Ford trucks for the last 30 years, that's what I buy. So now that's a part of your identity. And the one thing humans do not like to do is go against their perception of themselves. Highly developed minds can do this, and it takes practice, right? And so, but humans don't like to do that. I've been buying Ford all these years, and you could find out Ford has been in the oceans clubbing baby seals. Like the CEO of Ford is just clubbing baby seals to death. And there's YouTube videos of him clubbing these seals to death, and he's cheering. And then that guy is still going, well, sometimes they do it wrong, but I still buy Ford. So yeah, Sony could treat their customers like crap for decades. It's caught up to them now, right? Michael Jackson pulls his masters out of there, which loses them billions upon billions of dollars a year. That's why some people believe that he was assassinated for that. Conspiracy theories are kind of hard to get into, but the PlayStation, I don't know what their standing is now. The story I'm telling you kind of dates up to about right around the PlayStation 4 being released. PlayStation 4 is doing great, but it was like the one thing at Sony that was actually working well. And the music industry is making profit, but way less than it used to. And so the point there is, you could run the risk of being Sony, where who do you compare yourself to when you're at the top? Then you get lazy, you get complacent, and you start smelling yourself like, I'm the best. I can put out anything and people will buy it. That starts the downward spiral of Sony. I don't know if they ever did, but I think they were almost at the point of bankruptcy, right? Or at the very least, it was not going as well as they'd hoped, and their publicly traded shareholders, their publicly trading shareholders were hoping, right? And so I think that's a greater risk with comparing out, is you're going to start comparing yourself to people that you're in a better place than them, and then it doesn't force you to grow. Like, I love going to business seminars and getting around people that are doing way better than me. And I mean way better than me. Because it drives me like I should be doing that. Like, not in a I have to beat them way, because if I'm doing as well as them, look at all the other people I can help. Look at how I can take care of my family. Look at how I can feel good about myself because I accomplished something. Like, all good things, right? Compassion, on the other hand, you can drive that immediately. Like I said, that discipline list that I have every day, you do not break the promises to yourself. Now, do you get it perfect? No, I didn't get 8 hours of sleep last night because I was hanging out with Raz, and the ending of Horizon Zero Dawn takes like 4 hours. And I was like thinking I'll just jump in here and finish the game. It's like, nope, this is going to take a while, which is fine. The ending was fun. I had a great time. I think the final boss is BS. It was fun to fight it. I had a principal issue with it, and that the last battle is timed, which I pray whoever the dude or female was that put time limits on anything in Horizon Zero Dawn, I pray that they've gone from programming video games to like owning a bakery or something like that. Like, they just don't get it. Time limits, anyway. It's just, no, don't do. But anyway, I was hanging out late doing that, but I was having a good time. And my doctor told me I had to make time to do that stuff. And I had, my doctor's appointments were a little bit later in the morning, so I could sleep in a little bit, but I still didn't get, my doctor told me I have to start getting 8 hours of sleep. I didn't do that perfectly, right? And I got to be honest and admit that to myself. But yeah, it's very interesting that compassion is something that you can do immediately today. One of the most powerful forms of self-compassion that I want to leave you with, and then I'm going to open up the floor to questions. The most powerful form of self-compassion, friends, is stop judging yourself. For every action or inaction that you take, if you did something wrong, if you did something wrong, you can admit that you did it wrong. You can work to get it right. But the value judgment of self has to stop. Like, I hear people say, "Oh, I'm such an idiot." No. Now, if you're being humorously self-deprecating, that's one thing, right? Like, I do that from time to time, but at no point do I believe, like when I say I'm just a dumb old guy who doesn't get new video games, only the end of that sentence is true. I'm not old. I'm certainly not dumb, right? Nor do I believe it. I'm just saying it for humor's sake. So I'm not. We don't need to get into the semantics of legalizing how you talk to yourself. Well, my point is, if you truly believe that you lack intelligence, or because you made a mistake that means you're dumb or you're not worthy or valuable, that has to stop. The self-judgment, because what I tell people all the time is, you're not dumb, you're not any of these negative things. You're on the path to getting better. Like, guys, I gotta tell you, you're on a freaking call in the middle of the day with a big-headed freaking multi-ethnic guy that's just talking to you about stuff, but you're here because you actually want to see some improvement, whatever you define as improvement, in whatever your current life situation is, whether it's business, it's financial, it's emotional. You're doing that, and most of you are here every single effing day, and that's remarkable. That's something to be commended. That's not something, you can't judge yourself, right? And my wife was telling me, as I was talking to her today about self-compassion, and I'll leave y'all with this, she's like, "I wish I had your genetics. You don't judge yourself for." I said, no, I judge myself all the time, just not in the category that we're talking about. And when it comes to interpersonal relationships, it's very easy for me to cut somebody off. It's easy. No emotional attachment to someone that's abusing me or treating me unjust. Right? It's like, because I'm a firm believer. I was abandoned by my father as a child, right? So I don't think blood makes family. He's my family now because we've met and we've reconciled, and I've met, his wife, and I have brothers and sisters that I never knew, that knew about me for 20 plus years, and I never knew who they were or that they existed, right? So there's a relationship there, right? Now we're family. But for those years I didn't know my dad. We ain't family, dog. I don't know you, right? And I have no problem saying that. Family is the dude that came and took me into his house and said, "I'm gonna raise this kid," and he didn't have a dad, but I'm gonna make sure that isn't his reality. He's getting a dad because I know what it's like to grow up without one and try to figure out what the hell life is and be successful and take care of a family when you're terrified at 22 years old and your wife's 17. Like, he did that for me. And so I developed this. I'm not judging myself. If I piss somebody off, then they're just going to be pissed. If I hurt somebody's feelings, I didn't mean to do it. I never. Intent is everything. Everything that comes out of my mouth, it's never designed to hurt somebody. So when someone's hurt, sure, I feel bad. I don't want them to be hurt. But damn, if I'm going to sit here and judge myself, I'm such a bad person because I made this person feel bad. First of all, I can't make you feel bad. You determine how you feel based on how you frame the information coming into your mind. I ain't hurt nobody's feelings. The way you perceive what's coming out of my mouth is what hurt the feelings. Did I intend to hurt you? No. And that's what matters. Right? So we've got to stop judging ourselves. It's got to happen. So I'm going to leave you guys there. Questions. Let's get them. Let's take some comments. Raz says, "Tell Twitch to stop lagging so much for me so I can listen to while I'm driving around for work. Today I'm happy you're also on YouTube." Yeah, no worries. I'm going to keep coming to YouTube, at least for a little while, because I know it takes people time, man. It takes people time. I'm going to post that link again. I'm just going to keep posting it till you guys get on Twitch. Just to give everyone enough time to make it to the other side. NG Nicodem with the follow. What up, dude or lady? I never know which is which. Sometimes I can kind of guess by the name, but there was a guy on my website for years that I thought was a female, because the avatars he used, and I didn't know who these ladies were. I thought he was an Asian lady. I didn't realize the pictures were of Asian porn stars because I didn't know. I don't watch that stuff. I've never seen these ladies before, so I thought he was an Asian girl. It's like, oh, it's nice to have you, ma'am. And he finally one day was like, I'm a dude. It's like, what? Why are all your pictures pretty Asian ladies? And then all the rest of the room starts laughing like he doesn't know who the pretty Asian ladies are. Like, no. And so I don't know sometimes. Captain Cheese says I'm gonna make some coffee. Sweet. Coffee is, I'm sure, awesome. And I say that because I don't really drink coffee, but hey, I know a lot of people like it. Get in there. Aqua Sakura says, Brian. Hello, Brian. What up? Brain Juice says, well, that's not why I'm here. I'm just here to listen to a charismatic dude ramble on about stuff. Hey, man, whatever you get out of it, it's fine with me. Mikey KJ with the follow. What up, Mikey KJ? Good to see you. Looks like Mikey KJ followed twice. That's what I'm talking about. Everybody should follow twice. That's how good this stuff is. Raz says, I did most of the, and I think there's a way, because I have heard from other people that Twitch does have issues with lag on Twitch's end, but isn't there a way to downgrade the stream so that it's trying to push less bits? Like you can make the stream look like crap, but you can still hear me. I need to look into that. I'm still kind of learning the platform as I go through. I did most of the internal stuff before I found you, but you've been really helpful in helping with the actions needed to move forward to my goals. That's awesome. I'm very glad to hear that. Let's see. Tony JV says, I'm the same. I have zero patience for bad people and haven't talked to my brother in a year or so. My dad is also not my biological dad, so I can relate, laughing my ass off. Family is determined by actions. Yeah, blood don't make families the way I've always seen it. And that's to say, it was never to say that when I met my father, it wasn't like, oh, you left me, Dad. Like when I met my father the first time, it was over the phone. I actually thanked him. I said, first, let me start this conversation by saying thank you for abandoning me when you were 19 so that I wouldn't have had a shitty life. I grew up with a dude that had his act together. He kind of laughed about that. And I said, you need to tell me, like, are you a crackhead? Are you a practicing crackhead? Because then I can't let you around my kids. I said, I don't care about what you did in the past, but if you're practicing crack, we're going to have a problem. All right. He said, no, I promise you I'm not a crackhead. I said, all right, then we're going to get along good, man. But yeah, I never like to label people as good or bad because I think we're all on this continuum that, yes, I'm a human being, not a human doing, right? It's kind of the way I look at it. I think people can do bad things, but then it doesn't necessarily have to spill over to, oh, we're just going to write them off. They're absolutely a bad person. Because, a lot of people doing bad things, there is a serious mental health issue that they're not inherently bad. They just don't know any other way. And that's not always the case. Some people are bad. I'm not saying there's no such thing as bad people. I am leery of just tossing that label out without getting to if I don't really, really know the person or at least know the history of them, then it's like, yo, I need to, before I pass any type of value judgment, I need to know more, which is kind of how I approach everything. Aqua Sakura says, so he likes using pictures of women he finds attractive as icons. Yes. Well, I assume. This was years ago. I don't have that website anymore. But yeah, it was a dude that was using women he found attractive, which everyone snickering finally told me, like, we realize you don't know who these women are, but they are ladies of a particular profession that involves sex. And I was like, well, all right, if that's his jam, then welcome, dude. I've been calling you lady for what made it funny was that he didn't correct me, I think, for over a year. He just let it ride that I kept calling him ma'am. And then finally he's like, I'm a dude, just saying. It's like, and it's a really interesting thing. Because, when I grew up initially on message forums and stuff, there were no avatars in the beginning. You didn't have a picture. But when we started getting pictures, a lot of us used, like, I think the older crowd, like the folks like me that lived before the internet and after, like, to us, the allure of anonymity, I don't think had the same pull, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm just speaking from my perspective, that it had with the younger generation that grew up with the internet. And it was, like, if I'm going to use a picture, I might use it of, like, a favorite comic book character or me, like a picture that I think looks cool of me, which I did a lot of times. But, I found out, for example, the World of Warcraft generation, that most of the females you see in the game are actually dudes. And I think it was, I can't remember which website, wrote about this. I think it was Destructoid years ago. Wrote that a lot of the women you see, for example, in World of Warcraft, are actually dudes, and then they did some studying and interviews to figure out, well, why are all these dudes posing as women? And it was the what the interviews found. There were different reasons, but the prevailing reason was men decided, if I got to look at somebody's butt cheeks for the next 60 hours, we're going to make it an attractive woman. I was like, that actually makes a lot of sense. Like when you play a third person video game, you're looking at the back of a person, right? And if the men were basically saying, look, not to be crude, but if I got to look at someone's butt for 60 hours, I prefer it not be a dude's butt. I was like, all right, I can see the logic in that. I don't think I'd do it because I don't think at any time while I'm playing video games I'm looking at my character's butt, except for games that force you to do it, like Mass Effect with Miranda. Like the game found ways to accentuate this digital backside. And then Nier Automata, as much as I love that game and I think it's the best game of this generation, it's not even close, like by a huge margin, I think. And I'm trying to fix my chair, guys, so bear with me. I think, for the love of Jesus Christ in heaven, let's get the chair right, children. So the bottom line is I need a new office chair. But this idea that like Nier Automata forces you, like when 2B climbs a ladder, like or if she runs, her dress shoots up, and it's like, okay, we get it, developers, you made a pretty looking android digitally. Like, and even, as far back as like Chun-Li was one of the first video game females where they tried to accentuate these body parts, but it was like I never really gave much thought to the person I'm watching play the game other than trying to shoot the monsters that are in front of me. But I guess if I played a game for 60 hours where I'm staring at a character, maybe that happens. I don't like most games that are that long, so, and I've never played World of Warcraft, so I probably just am not the target audience. Jerry Buttafuoco's in the place. What's up, homeboy? Hey, Bryant, I've been digging these daytime live streams. Knowledge while I work. Word up. Raz says, I believe you have the family Mother Nature. The family Mother Nature gave you, and you have the family you pick. Yes. Brain Juice says, your granddad was thrown into prison for stealing lead off of church roofs. Needless to say, he's a pretty shady dude. I don't get involved. What? Stealing lead off of church roofs? That's such a random thing to do. Okay. Stealing. How old is your granddad, bro? Like, it just sounds like something. I don't know any churches that have lead roofs in the last 50 years. Raz says, some people think they both need to be the same. Yeah, some people do. That's fine. My experience, shapes the way I feel differently about that. If I had somebody else's experience, I may think differently too. Brainju says his granddad's a sociopath. That's a shame. Jerry Buttafuoco says there are no other options but 1080p in the quality option. Oh, you know what? That may be my fault because I'm streaming at 1080p, and maybe I need to lower the quality of the streams myself and just sacrifice how good it looks, for the sake of making you guys not have to have it stuttering. Never go to the Lion's Pride Inn on Moonguard server. Is that a World of Warcraft? Okay, yeah. I never played it. Aqua Sakura says, I see. I have a similar process as well when it comes to icons, but being that I do not like using a photo of myself, and I have yet drawn a picture of me, I'm currently going with pictures of my favorite anime characters. Also, I tend to like playing as female characters as well when I get the chance, despite being male. But for my case, it's more of I typically like seeing a story involving a female protagonist. That's interesting. And I think that's part of the kind of cultural differences of the video game culture, where I assume I'm probably a couple years older than you, where I grew up before games really, and because I didn't grow up a PC game, because I know PCs had this forever, but I grew up a console player, and I had a PC because I had a Commodore 64, but that wasn't like a PC, right? I grew up with games that didn't really like the narrative of the game was told through the action, not we're going to tell you a story and then have action parts in between the story parts the way and I always attribute that back, and I always blame Hideo Kojima for it. He is not the originator of it, but to me he's the person that made a game so prolific that it became the norm. So it's interesting that story for me is always a secondary concern. Like if the game has no story, but I couldn't tell you what the story was in Crackdown 3. I have no freaking clue. All I know is I was killing bad guys and I was blowing up all kinds of stuff and driving cars up buildings. Like I was having a ball. And somehow the bad guy from the first one is now good again. I have no idea because I haven't played 2 yet. Maybe that's explained in part 2. And like I couldn't care less. Like it was fine. I just want to have fun playing the game. So, you know, I came from a generation of gamers where there is a story. Like Double Dragon has a story. It's these thugs come. Your girlfriend is standing on the street corner, apparently in the worst neighborhood in the United States of America, in a hooker dress, and some kind of bad guys, one who has a machine gun, come up and punch her in the stomach and then carry her off to their lair. They have a lair in whatever city this is happening in, and you have to whoop ass all the way through the city to the lair where you beat up a guy with a machine gun. And then if you're playing 2 players, or even not 2-player, at the end you find out that the guy behind it is your brother, who you then have to fight to the death to win your girlfriend back. Come on, man. That's the story. And by the way, that was the story of all fighting games, like Cody from Final Fight and Hagar. Hagar's daughter, Cody's girlfriend, gets kidnapped by I forgot the name of the gang, who cares? And you fight a guy in a wheelchair that has a shotgun in his wheelchair at the end. And you beat him by knocking him out of a window, and then you get your girlfriend back. Come on, man. That's a story. So, like, having a female protagonist or a male protagonist, it never... Because I didn't care so much about you telling me a storybook. I want to play a freaking game. I don't care about all this, the lore. Like every time I hear someone say lore in a video game, I'm like, for the love of Jesus Christ, I don't want to read a book in your video game. Just, can you let me fight the dragons? Right? So, like I learn a lot by talking to people like you, because it teaches me about, there's this whole generation of people that they don't know anything different than these very cinematic, very heavily story-driven games. And like a game like Horizon Zero Dawn. And by the way, any comment and question is welcome on these calls. It doesn't have to have anything to do with the topic, as you can see right now. But like I finished Horizon Zero Dawn last night, and the story was really, really good. And more importantly, the character that gets developed in the story was really, really good. Because the story is ridiculous. Like when you understand what's really happening, it's like, you gotta be freaking kidding me. There's no way. There's no effing way on earth this happens. But it doesn't matter. There's no way your girlfriend is out on the corner in a hooker dress in the Bronx and a bunch of thugs and a guy with a machine gun walk up and whoop her ass and take her to their lair. That's never gonna happen. So the plausibility of the story is irrelevant. The story is ridiculous. But who the character becomes in that story, Aloy, is fantastic. It's phenomenal. Who she becomes in playing that game. Like, wow, she really grew into all this hardship she's been through and all these things she's experienced and the hate, and she still turns into a good human being. And the final ending kind of bothered me a little bit because it ends with a cliffhanger, and I'm like, don't do that. Don't set it up for part 2. Like, I'm not going to tell you guys anything about it because I don't want to spoil it, but I was like... I liked the ending before the credits. Ending after the credits, I felt like they could have just left that out and made that, if they're gonna make a sequel, just let us end with the first ending. The second ending was just like, I don't know how I felt about that. But anyway, let's see. Brain Juice says, you never play World of Warcraft. Good. You spared yourself the displeasure of playing the worst game ever. Wow, That's heavy. It's worse than Legacy of the Wizard or Rambo or Wrath of the Black Manta. It's worse than all of those. It's pretty hard to pull off. Eduardo Boy says, I tried that game. Little Rat says, me too. My dad wasn't involved in my life until I was 17. My mom and stepdad raised me. Yep. A lot of us have similar stories. Eduardo Boy says, too basic for me. Brain Juice says, I view an avatar as a representation of the things I like. Oh, that's fair. My avatars are usually characters I wish I was, says Scrappy Dev. That's very interesting. Very, very interesting. So, Scrappy Dev, you have Dev in your name. Are you a game developer? When I saw you follow me, I was like, hey, I don't know that name from YouTube. Is this a game developer that's following me? Because that would be awesome to get the perspective of all this ranting I do about video games from someone that actually has to make them and listen to, people like me either praise them or complain about them. Let's see. Mikey KJ says, ever since moving out of my parents' house, I'm 22, I find it hard to keep myself disciplined. I can stay motivated for weeks or maybe a month at a time, but I can never stay disciplined long term, especially with school. I consistently find myself skipping classes, sleeping, and etc. Any tips on improving discipline? Yes, discipline comes from desire, and discipline equals freedom. So what most people try to do is go be more disciplined. I'm going to go be more disciplined. And yeah, you can, as you've seen, you can sustain that for about a month. No one's just going to be disciplined. You have to want something back, because discipline involves a certain amount of pain, right? It's not natural. Like, we naturally, human beings, want to be at equilibrium. We want to be at rest. So pushing ourselves to become something more hurts. Sometimes physically, sometimes psychologically, sometimes emotionally. Growth, like if you've ever lifted weights, you know that you get what's called DOMS after a really good workout, or delayed onset muscle soreness, right? Well, that hurts, but that hurt is growth, right? So most people are like, yo, I'm trying to improve my discipline. Stop trying to improve your discipline and improve your desires. You're skipping classes because you don't see the point of the classes you're taking, or the classes are not in line with a great desire you have. If you're 22, I imagine you're probably in classes because your parents made it mandatory that you go to college, right? Or maybe you did have an internal desire to go to college, but you haven't figured out what is the thing I want bad enough to go through getting up and going to class. So figure out how to stir up desire more than you're trying to stir up, because discipline will follow that. Because then you realize, oh, to get this thing I want, I'm going to have to be disciplined. So I'm willing to go through the pain of the discipline for the why. Most people focus on the what, of how can I be, the how and the what. How can I be more disciplined, and what do I need to do? You can't start there. You got to start with the why should I be, why should I get up and go to class? Well, because my mom will get mad. Yeah, but is my mom getting mad really enough of a motivator? For a month, yeah. And then you revert. So you got to find what is something that you want bad enough to get ass off couch and get busy. Broken Suba, welcome back, my man. Yeah, I prefer to avatar as a lady. Okay, so this is a common theme. I like strong female leads in my stories. That's very much like Aqua Sakura. So if I'm going to immerse myself in a fantasy, I'd rather feel like I'm watching an awesome female's quest than feeling like I'm a badass. So help me understand dudes who are like that, because I'm the exact opposite. Like, I want my avatar to be like me in a video game. Like, and a lot of video games I don't like, especially like Japanese role-playing games, is because it's a 17-year-old bitchy dude. Right? I'm not a 17. I used to be a 17-year-old bitchy dude, and that's when those games were more fun to me. But now that I'm a freaking grown man who's been through war and all this other stuff, like, I got the princess, I saved the princess from the tower, I fought the dragons. Give me a game that's going to speak to that. Interestingly enough, as much as I criticize Hideo Kojima, I don't criticize him as much as I criticize what he gave birth to. I will admit that Metal Gear Solid 3, even though I think as a game is a pain in the ass, I resonated very heavily with the story. I loved Naked Snake at the end of that. Like, this dude, oh my God, I understand everything he's feeling, because I've been there. I mean, I didn't have to go as far as killing my mentor. Oh, Jesus, spoiler alert. Sorry, guys. Sorry, dudes who haven't played Metal Gear Solid 3 after 20 years. My bad. You know what I mean? So playing as I'm a dude who wants to play. Gender doesn't matter so much as disposition, but I want to play as a strong-ass dude. because that's what I see myself as. So I want to see myself in the avatar. So help me understand what resonates. And I'm wondering if it's a feminine versus masculine energy thing, because, as men and women, we both exhibit masculine and feminine energy. And in all of us, we have one that's stronger than the other. Like, obviously, for me, I'm probably more balanced than I come across on camera with my feminine energy, but I do lean towards masculine energy. But I'm very interested in a lot of men want to see a strong female lead. And I'm wondering, is that a feminine energy thing as a man? Right? Remember, we're feminine and masculine is not male female, it's energy, right? Men and women both have masculine and feminine energy, which are kind of these esoteric terms that we don't have a better thing to use to describe, right? They're stereotypes. But I'm very curious to know more about that and then to learn, not to judge it, not to criticize it. I'm very curious about something that I don't understand. Um, Now, I just finished the game playing as Aloy. I fracking loved playing as Aloy. But it wasn't because she was a woman. If it had been a dude, I would have loved him just as much, right? Other than, when you're watching a story of an attractive female like that, I mean, there could be like it's a video game, so I'm not attracted to a video game, it's not what I'm saying. But like, if you watch a movie with a female protagonist that's very attractive, there's going to be some affinity there for the person. That's just human biology. But if Aloy had been a dude, I don't think I would have loved him any less. Any less. Keep putting T's at the end of my S's here. Right? So I'm very curious because that is so common with men that I encounter is I want to play like guys that played Shepard as a female in Mass Effect. And I'm like, okay, I don't get that. And I want to get it. I want to understand what makes that work. Captain Cheese says, random question here. I'm having a hard time looking people in the eye. I feel uncomfortable. Do you have any tips for this? I want to feel comfortable talking to other people and stop thinking about it while I do. Sorry. No, no, no. Never, never, never apologize on this show. Ever. All questions are welcome. It does not need to. There is no off topic here. I'm here to help. And if this is the question you got, this is the question we're going to discuss. Never apologize for that. Okay? Now, what I will ask you, and I don't know if you want to put this out there publicly, if the answer is yes, you can send me a private message on Twitch. Are you on the spectrum for autism? Let's start there before I answer your question, and then I'll come back to you when you answer that. Brady says, someone told me today that games don't need to be fun to be worth playing. What's your take on that? I mean, my take on that is it's an interesting perspective. That's my take. I would love to talk with that person and learn more about what led them to that perspective. That's a very, very interesting declaration that I'd love to have. Matter of fact, if you have contact with this person, I might want to get them on our gaming podcast once we start doing the podcast in a couple of months, because I would love to dig into, because I don't think that is a rare feeling. With the games that are coming out today, I don't believe that guy I don't believe that's a rare opinion. And I would love to know more about it. Like, what got him there? How old is he? Is the first place I'm going to start. Because if you grew up with me, you grew up with the point of games was fun and distraction. Not, could you imagine playing Horizon Zero Dawn at a video arcade at a pizza shop? Like, you're there for 40 hours trying, you know what I mean? I think that's an age thing. I think it's an age, and like younger people have had different experiences in childhood that they, again, going back to the glutamate example and what the brain values. If you are getting a crazy dopamine rush from playing Metal Gear Solid on your PlayStation 1 as a kid when you're 9 years old, and I'm 9 years old getting a crazy dopamine rush from Bruce Lee, glutamate in my brain is going to value Bruce Lee. Glutamate in this person's brain is going to value Kojima stuff. I'd love to have that conversation. That's very interesting. And you told them you thought they were crazy. I don't think it's crazy at all. I think it's very much experiences and how the brain works. And I'd love to know more about how they came to that conclusion. And I would also love to know how they define fun. I'd love to know that. Because, and by the way, I've had similar discussion. I had a discussion with a guy years ago on my website about how he was saying not every moment of the game has to be fun. I'm like, well, why would the other moment? He's like, and he was trying to teach me about, And he was kind of right. Like, even movies do this where there's moments and then there's he's like, if you had all crazy fun moments, you wouldn't appreciate them without the lulls. I'm like, yeah, but do the lulls have to be hunting grounds where I have to do some stupid ass timed exercise where I'm frustrated? Right? And that's where kind of the conversation went. Aqua Sakura says, I was born in what is considered the fourth generation era of video games, which started in 1987. I was born in 89. Yeah, I'm never good with the generations because that crap didn't exist when I was young. Like, we didn't label them in generations. You either grew up playing arcade games or consoles or PCs, basically. I always thought it was more of a preference thing when it comes to whether one cares about video games and stories or not. It was for this reason JRPGs and action adventure games are one of my favorite games. It's weird too because JRPGs used to be one of my favorite games because my first real JRPG experience technically was Dragon Warrior, but I only played that for like 2 hours. It was Final Fantasy. Matter of fact, I keep a copy. I'm like Alton Brown keeps Nutmeg in his pocket. I keep a copy of Final Fantasy 2. And it must be really hot in my office because I saw sweat rings when I lifted my arm there. I keep a copy of Final Fantasy 2. Right? And I love that game. I love it. But I don't think I love it for the story. Even though I thought the story was good and I could relate to, I used to call him Cecil. But apparently I think it's Cecil. I called him Cecil forever, but I think it's Cecil because there was no voice acting back then. Even though I related a lot to Cecil, the story just took a backseat to the fact that I loved the exploration, the finding new towns, the different cultures, exploring, finding better weapons in caves, and getting stronger and kicking ass. And that game, basically, I played RPGs because they kind of fueled my desire to be in control of my environment. Kind of this, not like a God complex where everyone has to listen to me, but at least controlling my little individual circumstances. An RPG gave me control that I didn't have in real life, right? In real life, I had no control. I was, emotionally abused in a lot of cases. I moved around a lot as a kid, so I constantly felt anxious and out of control. But that video game gave me this sense of control that I'd never experienced before, and I loved it. And it's why when people watch me do live streams, that still plays out today. When I lose control over the situation, and specifically what I mean is I can't get out of doing something that I hate for this reward that I want. It creates this frustration because the expectation is I can get this reward if I'm willing to put in the work. But then the game tells me, oh, the work you have to put in really sucks. Like, well, isn't the purpose of playing this game? Like, I don't mind it being challenging, but this sucks. Like, this isn't just challenging, it's annoying. Right? And you'll watch me become frustrated because my expectations are not being met. So it's very interesting that you say that. Brain Juice said, yep, worse than those, at least for what you pay for it. Okay. Scrappy Dev says, it's me, Karina. I'm working on being, oh, what's up, Karina? That's all right. All right, let's see what else we got here. I definitely I definitely don't want to be my avatar. Tony JV says, I think I have a lot of confidence, but the negative self-talk and lack of self-compassion stops it from really coming out. Yup. Nail on the head, Tony JV. See, Raz says, build confidence and look at their lips. People can't tell it's not the eyes. Wow, that's a nice tactic. You don't need to continue looking at them in the eye because it's intimidating. But coming back to eye contact to show you're still listening. Lost Odyssey doesn't have you play as a 17-year-old bitchy dude. Yeah, but the gameplay sucks. So there's that. And the combat is so effing slow it made me want to light myself on fire. Captain Cheese says, I tried looking at the lips, but I know when someone is looking at my lips, so I don't know. Thanks for the tip. Maybe they admire some of the qualities that they feel they can't embrace due to their feel for a need for masculinity. Maybe. LOL. And I love Tyler Perry for the very reason. I think Tyler Perry makes amazing stage plays. And I will say no more than that because my wife might be listening and she knows about those stupid movies she drugged me to that almost led to a divorce. Joking, of course, Twitch. Everybody calm down. Scrappy Dev says, also, ever since I saw this one video from AI and games on the alien from Alien Isolation. I've taken an interest in programming the AI and games. Awesome. But I'm a long way from that. That's cool. Long way is better than no way. Captain Cheese says, I'm not on the spectrum of autism, but I'm dealing with anxiety. I'm going to therapy once a week and it really helps. But I would love to hear. So that's my take. Like, you're in the right place. Um, you're in the right place. Therapy is what's going to walk you through that. Because when we can't look somebody in the eye, there's very much a I don't know if confidence is the right word that I want to use, but it's this like, and I don't want to speak for you, but I imagine you're feeling a sense of inferiority, right? And I imagine that your therapist is probably going to dig this up, but it dates back to someone in your life that was dominating or domineering that could have led you to a place where you started to feel that way, and then you didn't have an outlet or help to help you develop better thinking about yourself. So my take is the therapy is exactly where I would go for building that type of self-compassion, self-love. Hey, you B, what's up, Raven? Good to see you. And thanks for the host, Raven. Awesome. Older Anders says there are very few games which demonstrate a feminine action, which is more about relationship and social actions. Pride and Prejudice. What up, G? Did you turn your robot into a gun now?
No.
No? What is that?
That's done.
Yeah, I just said gun, and you said no. Hey, hold on a second, Twitch family. Christopher! 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 Hold on, please, folks. I gotta go deal with some crazy terrorist children. I'll be right back.
What doing? Whoa.
Hey, buddy. All right. Let's see here. We're back in the mix, friends. Let me get back to the comment section here so I can deal with some things in my crib. All right, YouTube. YouTube, I'm about to go offline here, so if you would like to continue this call with me, this is where we're going to do it at. Let me just take a few comments from YouTube before I shut the YouTube part of this call down. Booyakah. All right, now, Little Fro says, good message. Word. Eurolamp says, certain people aren't bad all around, but it doesn't necessarily. Okay, these questions are from way back. Cool. All right, friends, get at me on Twitch. It's been real. I love you to death.